In this moment, there is nothing to solve and nothing to figure out. Nothing needs to be decided, and nothing needs to be held tightly in mind. You can let your attention rest on a few simple comforts: warmth in the air, softness close by, and a steady, quiet hum. If the picture forms, it can be gentle. If it does not, that is just as welcome. Somewhere far from any hurry, a ring-shaped world curves beneath a wide, cradled sky. On that calm curve, a quiet creature reserve keeps a slow rhythm, unchanging and safe. Muted aurora drifts in pale ribbons overhead, never bright, never urgent, only soft movement in the dark. Warm stone holds its heat. Soft fabric holds its ease. The steady hum holds everything together. And if any detail feels too big, you can let it blur, because nothing here requires a sharp image. It can be only a feeling, quiet, steady, and unhurried. The creature reserve sits on the inner face of the Ringworld, where the sky curves gently upward, and the horizon feels like a wide embrace. The central star is mild, and the night is deep without being dark, lit by muted aurora and by the reserve's warm, steady glow. It is a sanctuary shaped by quiet design, smooth paths that never feel steep, sheltered bays that hold warmth, and open stretches where the aurora can be seen without any glare. Nothing here is loud or sharp. Even the wind is softened, guided around curved walls and warm ridges, until it becomes a slow, comfortable movement in the air. Along the boundary, low glows are set into stone, not bright, only present, and a steady hum lives underfoot, like a cushion under the world. There are a few familiar places the keeper returns to again and again, and the returning itself is soothing. The entry pavilion that holds warmth like a hearth, a quiet preparation corner where bowls and folded cloth wait, the warm ridge with its resting bays, and a sheltered observation nook where the keeper can pause and watch the aurora drift. The keeper does not hurry between these places. The reserve sets the pace, and everything inside it follows that pace, as though the whole sanctuary is one long, quiet exhale. Warm stone underfoot, a quiet glow in the walls, the muted aurora overhead, moving without urgency. These few comforts stay close, while everything else fades into softness. Even the keeper's route feels like a gentle circle that returns to calm again and again, fitting easily inside the shelter of the sky's curve and the reserve's warm lights. When the keeper comes back to a place already visited, it never feels like repeating a step. It feels like arriving at comfort that was waiting all along. The sanctuary is patient in that way. It does not change its mood quickly, and it does not reward hurry. It simply holds its quiet design and invites everything inside it to slow down to match. From a distance, the Ringworld is an immense curve of land and water and soft weather, turning quietly in the dark. Its star is steady rather than bright, and the inner face of the ring holds a calm nightland where light is always gentle. The ring's arc can be felt even when it cannot be fully seen, a wide closeness that makes the sky feel like it is cradling the world. Across that inner sky, aurora lanes drift in broad bands of color: teal, violet, pearl, smoothed as if the light is moving through silk. They slide along invisible currents, held stable by quiet fields. And in this sanctuary, they act less like a spectacle and more like a soft ceiling of moving color. There is no flashing, no sharp brightening, no sudden change that demands attention. The lanes simply glide, and their gliding is predictable, almost rhythmic. Below, the reserve mirrors that calm. Warm stone, dim lamp glow, and the steady hum that seems to anchor every step. Clouds drift in slow layers that never pile up into anything dramatic. The star's glow remains even, and the aurora keeps its smooth, muted motion, so even the vastness feels quiet. Here, only this small sanctuary matters, warm and steady, living softly inside a very large, gentle world. And because the world is so large, the sanctuary can feel even more peaceful, like a lit window in a quiet night, like a blanket drawn up in a room that is already calm. The Ringworld turns without sound. The aurora glides without effort, and the reserve below continues its slow routine with nothing to prove. Somewhere on the far curve of the ring, day is happening, and somewhere else, dawn is beginning. But here the night remains calm, held in a slow balance of warmth and chauta color. The reserve does not fight the night. It welcomes it, turning it into a gentle shelter, a place where even the darkness feels soft because the light is kind. At the reserve's entry pavilion, the air is warmer than outside, as though the stone has been holding heat all day and is now releasing it slowly, generously. A woven shade lamp casts a steady amber pool of light, and the edges of that light are soft, never harsh, never bright. The pavilion is spacious and unbusy, smooth floor, rounded corners, and a quiet openness that makes the breath feel slower the moment you arrive. Along one wall, a long bench is lined with thick fabric pads, folded and stacked with the same simple care each evening. Nearby, a wide table holds a few plain bowls, a shallow tray, and folded cloth, objects that are here for comfort and that never need labels. Through the pavilion opening, muted aurora color lays a gentle wash across the path outside, as if nightlight has been painted onto the stone. The keeper pauses here before the round begins, not to prepare in a busy way, only to let the warmth and the steady hum settle into the body. In this pavilion, even waiting feels like part of the sanctuary's care. A quiet pause, a soft light, and the sense that nothing is required. When the keeper finally steps forward, the movement is slow and easy, as if the pavilion has set the tempo, and the rest of the reserve is simply continuing it. The cloth pads look soft enough to hold warmth for a long time. The bowls look steady enough to sit quietly, without clink or scrape. Everything in the pavilion feels rounded and gentle, designed to keep the senses low and calm. The keeper's comfort anchors are as familiar as the reserve itself, chosen to make the evening feel grounded and simple. A soft cloak rests over the shoulders, heavy enough to feel steady, light enough to move without effort, the fabric catching the lamp glow in gentle folds. Gloves are smooth and flexible, keeping hands warm while still allowing the textures of stone, cloth, and bowl rims to be felt through the layers. A brush pouch is simple, filled with a few brushes made from quiet fibers, soft ones for wings, firmer ones for shell edges, and one that is almost like velvet when it passes over fabric pads. The keeper's fingers know the shape of each brush without looking, choosing by feel rather than by thought, and returning each one to the same place. A soft, woven tassel hangs at the belt, not for signaling, only to sway gently with each step. A quiet reminder that everything can be slow. There are also thick cloth pads, folded in a familiar way, and a shallow tray that carries bowls without clatter. All of it designed so nothing needs to be managed with tension. In the reserve, these objects are not a collection to organize. They are part of the evening's rhythm, returning again and again until they feel like extensions of the sanctuary itself. Brush and pad are there when they are needed, and set down again without ceremony. A hand may rest on warm stone for a moment and drift away. There is no order to remember and no sequence to follow. Everything settles into the same quiet. In time, the keeper barely needs to think about these anchors. The body remembers them the way it remembers warmth, familiar textures, familiar weight, familiar pace, so the evening can unfold without the mind waking up to organize it. At the preparation table, the keeper lays out what the evening needs in a way that feels unhurried, more like arranging comfort than arranging supplies. A wide mat covers the table's surface, soft enough to keep bowls from sounding sharp, and warm enough to make the whole corner feel inviting. A few bowls of clean water are warmed just slightly, never hot, only mild, and the surface holds a soft sheen under the lamp. A shallow tray of mineral pellets rests nearby, faintly scented like stone after gentle rain, and a small bundle of soft fibers waits beside it, simple and unmarked. Folded cloth pads sit at the table's edge, thick and comforting, ready to refresh a bay with a single smooth placement, ready to become warmth where a creature chooses to settle. The keeper does not correct and recorrect. There is no need to make anything perfect. One slow pass of the palm across the mat is enough to feel the softness, and then the hand rests. In this place, preparation is not a list. It is an atmosphere. Warm light already present, steady hum already underfoot, everything close enough that the keeper never has to search. The keeper looks at the table for a moment, not to check, only to let the quiet readiness settle into the scene, like a still life that invites the mind to become still as well. The warmed water, the folded cloth, the steady lamp glow, these small, repeating comforts make readiness feel like rest. The keeper breathes once, slow and easy, and lets the table remain exactly as it is. Nothing here asks to be optimized. The corner is already quiet, already warm, already ready. Before stepping fully onto the paths, the keeper takes a quiet moment with the reserve's steady hum. A low stone console sits near the pavilion wall, warm to the touch, its surface smooth, rounded, and familiar beneath the glove. The keeper rests a palm on the stone and feels the hum like a gentle current, slow and even, as though the sanctuary itself is breathing. Along the reserve boundary, quiet pylons stand in a quiet line, holding a low glow and a steady presence, keeping the aurora's movement soft and the air unhurried. The keeper does not need to adjust anything. The calm is already built into the design. The console holds the same steady tone, and the lights remain soft on their own. The creatures respond to that steadiness without needing any cue. They drift in when the air feels calm, and they drift onward when they are ready. Never pushed, never pulled. The keeper lifts a hand from the console and lets it rest at the side for a moment, carrying the warmth and the vibration as a small comfort that stays with the body. When the keeper turns toward the pavilion opening, there is nothing to confirm and nothing to announce. The reserve simply continues, held in its calm design, dependable and kind. That dependability is part of the sanctuary's gentleness, and it makes the first step onto the path feel as easy as the next. In the keeper's palm, the warmth from the console lingers like a small, portable hearth, and beneath every step, the hum stays steady, making the whole night feel supported, as if the ground itself is calm. In the keeper's quiet corner, a low surface rests beneath a dim globe light that casts a soft circle of warmth. The desktop has a familiar curve under the palm, like warm stone shaped by time. The keeper lets fingertips drift across the surface through the glove, tracing it the way one might follow a familiar seam in fabric, then letting the hand go still. A single smooth stone rests at the desk's edge, cool at first touch, warming quickly in the palm, kept there simply because it feels grounding to hold for a moment. Nearby, a shallow tray rests with a few bowls, waiting quietly, and a folded cloth pad waits beside them, thick enough to refresh a bay with one easy placement. The brush pouch rests within easy reach, and the globe light keeps its soft circle steady and unhurried. From the desk, the keeper looks out through the pavilion opening. Muted aurora color lays a gentle wash across the path outside, and the hum underfoot seems to blend with the night air until everything feels smoothly connected. The keeper takes the tray, holds it comfortably against the body, and begins to walk, carrying warmth and softness out into the reserve, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Hands know where each item belongs without reaching or searching, and that lack of searching is its own comfort, a small ease that keeps the mind from waking up into problem solving. The night does not ask for more detail than this familiar loop. Out along the ridge, a few quiet pauses, and then back again. The keeper's hand may close around the warm stone once, just to feel it, then open again, without hurry. And the desk, the lamp, the warm surface, everything remains softly present, simply part of the reserve's unchanging calm. Out on the paths, the arrivals feel like a calm drift rather than an event. Warm stone holds steady underfoot, and the air has that softened quality the reserve is known for, as if every sound is padded before it can become sharp. Some creatures move under the aurora's ribbons, as though carried by slow currents of light. Others come closer to the warm ridge, drawn to heat the way hands are drawn to a blanket. The keeper does not need to name them all. Labels are optional here. What matters is the quiet behavior, A pause, a settling, a glow that dims as comfort increases. A wing folds and stays folded. A rounded back eases into a hollow. A small hoofed step becomes slower, then becomes still. The reserve makes room for each creature without hurry. Bays are open, paths are wide, and the steady hum seems to keep everything supported, as if the ground itself is calmly offering more time. Even when the keeper stops to offer a bowl or a pad, the stop is unhurried, and the start again is unhurried. Motion is allowed to be slow from beginning to end. Above, the aurora keeps gliding in the same smooth, muted bands. And below, the warmth keeps rising gently from stone and sand and soft lining. Everything arrives softly, and everything is allowed to settle. Some glows pulse once and then dim, as if the body has decided it can finally stop paying attention. And the keeper continues walking with the same gentle pace, letting the sanctuary do what it was built to do: hold warmth, hold quiet, and hold time open. The path itself seems to encourage softness. Each stone is warm enough to feel friendly, and the air carries a faint, clean scent, like warmed mineral, like cloth dried in gentle light. When a creature pauses, the pause does not feel like hesitation. It feels like permission. The reserve gives that permission freely, again and again. And the keeper's gaze remains loose, never scanning, never counting, simply noticing quiet shapes becoming quieter. Sometimes, one of the biolight drifters lingers beneath a darker band of aurora, its glow dimming until it is almost the color of the air itself. Sometimes, a creature chooses the warmest hollow and stays there without moving at all. And the stillness looks comfortable, not tense. The keeper's steps pass nearby, and nothing startles. The sanctuary has trained every sense to expect softness. The keeper carries a smooth slate, simple and blank, used only for a quiet ritual of noticing and then letting go. At a listening pylon, the keeper pauses and rests a hand against the slate's surface, feeling the coolness under the glove and the steady vibration in the air nearby. A gentle press leaves a faint impression that is more like warmth passing from glove to stone than any mark that could be read. Then the keeper smooths the slate with the palm until it returns to blank, the motion slow and comforting, like smoothing the corner of a blanket. The same ritual happens again near the warm ridge, where the hum underfoot feels especially steady, and the air holds warmth in a quiet way. A slow touch, a gentle smoothing, and then The hands drift away again. The keeper likes this ritual because it keeps the evening light and loose. It is a way of being present without turning presence into work. A way of touching the moment and then releasing it. Sometimes the keeper pauses long enough to feel the air around a bay, not searching for flaws, only noticing the simple comforts. Warmth steady, light soft, space settled. Now and then, the keeper smooths a pad once, more like a habit of kindness than a fix, and then lets it be. No fixing, only easing. No urgency, only softness, returning. Then the slate is smoothed blank once more, leaving the mind with nothing to track and nothing to hold. Presence, and then release. The slate stays blank, and that blankness is soothing. It means there is nothing to remember, nothing to review, nothing to carry forward. Only the feel of stone under the palm and the sense of the night continuing on its own. Near the warm ridge, the keeper sets down a bowl with a small offering of mineral pellets, placing it where it can be approached easily. The bowl rests in a shallow stone ring that keeps it steady, and the bay around it feels open and unpressured, like a quiet invitation rather than a destination. A creature shifts closer and settles, and the keeper draws a brush from the pouch, choosing a soft one by feel. The brushing is slow and smooth, following the curve of a wing edge or the rounded line of a shell back, never pressing, only easing, only comforting. When the brush stroke ends, the hand rests. When the hand rests, the space grows quieter by a small, gentle degree. At another bay, the keeper refreshes a cloth pad, laying it down with one smooth placement and smoothing it once with an open palm until it lies flat and inviting. The palm lingers on the fabric for a moment, letting warmth from the glove settle into it, then lifts away as lightly as it arrived. A quiet step comes closer, then stops, then lowers into rest, and the keeper lets the lamp's glow soften by a single shade, brief, gentle, and then gone, like a small reminder that the night is safe to settle into. The reserve does much of the work on its own, warmth rising gently, light staying low, hum staying even. The keeper simply moves within that softness, letting each gentle action finish before the next begins. In this way, care becomes part of the reserve's atmosphere, as calm as the aurora overhead. They settle, and the bays hold them. The keeper never needs to stay long. A moment of warmth, a moment of softness, and then a step onward. And behind each step, the bays keep their comfort, like quiet rooms in a sleeping house, warmth is offered and released. A bowl may be set down and later lifted away. A cloth pad may rest where it is useful and later rest somewhere else. The details can blur, and the order does not matter. What stays is the feeling. Warm stone, soft fabric, muted aurora, and the steady hum that never hurries. These are not chores. They are small comfort gestures, offered once, then released, so the mind never has to track whether they were done perfectly. The path continues along the ridge in a gentle curve, and the keeper's steps follow that curve the way a lullaby follows a familiar melody. Above, muted aurora color drifts like slow water, and the inner sky feels close and sheltering, as if the Ringworld is holding the reserve inside a quiet bowl of night. Along the ridge, the bays repeat in a comforting pattern. Warm stone, soft lining, a shallow ring for a bowl, a folded pad waiting like a promise of comfort. The keeper visits a few bays on the first pass, then, without changing pace, begins the loop again, because repetition here is not work. It is the way the sanctuary deepens. On the second pass, there is less to do and less to notice, and that sameness feels heavier than thought, like a blanket settling into place. Hands may rest on stone, or touch a bowl, or smooth a pad. Brief, interchangeable gestures that fade as soon as they happen. There is nothing to remember, and nothing to track. The keeper's shoulders stay relaxed beneath the cloak, and the pace stays unhurried. The same slow tempo from bay to bay, from ridge to nook, and back again. The aurora continues its smooth drift, and the reserve continues its steady hum, and the evening continues to soften, held in a rhythm that does not change abruptly. In this sanctuary, the loop is the comfort. Return again and again, and find the same warmth waiting. Sometimes the keeper makes a third slow pass, even gentler than the second, not to add anything, only to let the familiar rhythm deepen. By then, the bays feel like quiet rooms in a sleeping house, and the ridge feels like a warm hallway that holds the whole sanctuary together. Warm stone, soft fabric, steady hum, muted aurora, 4 comforts that repeat until they become almost hypnotic. The keeper's feet know the ridge the way hands know a familiar instrument, by feel, not by thought. Each bay has its own small pocket of warmth, and moving between them is like moving between gentle rooms, all lit by the same dim lamp of the sky. Nothing in the loop needs a conclusion. The loop itself is the conclusion, arriving at the same calm and then arriving again. On that third pass, the keeper's movements become almost meditative. Walk, pause, rest a hand, and walk again, with long spaces between gestures, so there is room for the mind to drift. A bay receives a fresh pad, and the pad holds warmth. Another bay receives a bowl, and the bowl holds quiet. The keeper's hand rests on stone and feels the hum, and the hum feels like a calm heartbeat beneath the ridge. Then the keeper continues, not seeking a finish, only letting the loop remain gentle until the whole sanctuary feels settled. Warm stone, soft fabric, steady hum, muted aurora, warm stone again, soft fabric again, steady hum again, muted aurora again. The repetition is not monotonous here. It is comforting, like the same lullaby verse repeated until the body finally believes it. Sometimes the keeper lingers a little longer along the ridge, letting the curve be wide and simple. The aurora lanes drift above as muted ribbons, and nothing asks to be understood. The light simply moves, and the night simply holds it. The bays remain calm. The stone remains warm. The fabric remains soft. The steady hum remains steady. Again and again, the same comforts return until the mind stops trying to arrange them into a list. There is no first bay or last bay that needs to be remembered. Only the gentle feeling of arriving, pausing, and moving on. If a thought drifts in, it can pass through like a thin cloud, and the ridge stays the ridge, patient and quiet. The keeper keeps the same pace, not to finish anything, only because the loop is kind and repetition is restful. And each time the pavilion grows nearer, it feels familiar, already waiting, already warm, as if it has been there the whole time. Nothing needs to change for the comfort to deepen. It deepens simply because it repeats softly, without demand. In a sheltered alcove near the pavilion, a quiet workbench waits beneath a steady lamp. Its light, woven and soft. The keeper sets down the tray and lets the hands rest for a moment, feeling the warmth in the gloves and the calm in the air. Warm water waits in a shallow bowl, and a brush may be swirled once, then left to rest. The surface smooths itself back to stillness almost immediately. A cloth pad becomes a thicker cushion with a simple fold, and it stays there, soft enough, without asking for more attention. A small bundle of extra fibers, a spare bowl, a stack of pads. Everything is quiet and unmarked, and the bench feels less like a workspace and more like a cozy corner of the pavilion's calm. When the keeper lifts the tray again, it is with the same slow ease as before, carrying one folded pad back toward the ridge, as if carrying a small piece of the pavilion's warmth outward. The lamp's woven shade keeps the light steady, and the air remains smooth, as though the alcove has its own quiet pocket of calm. Even the simple sound of water settling in a bowl is softened here, quickly returning to stillness. As the evening deepens, the resting bays become quieter, filled with settled shapes and dimmed glows. Some creatures rest close to warm stone, tucked into hollows lined with thick cloth and softened sand. Others hover near sheltered overhangs where the air is cooler, their light reduced to a soft haze. The keeper moves through the bays in a smooth loop, returning to the same few comforts again and again, letting the sameness become the story. A cloth pad is refreshed with a single gentle placement. A bowl is set into its ring with an easy touch. A brush smooths a wing edge or follows the curve of a shell back, with motions so slow they feel like part of the air. Then the keeper steps back and lets quiet settle, because quiet always settles here when nothing is forced. With each return pass, there is less new to notice and more familiarity to rest inside. The hum underfoot feels like a cradle, and the aurora overhead feels like a moving ceiling of soft color. The keeper pauses beside one bay and rests a hand on the warm edge, feeling the steady heat under the glove. Another bay receives one last brush stroke, and then the brush returns to the pouch. Soft light, warm stone, steady hum. These words repeat because the comforts repeat, and the reserve becomes a place where repetition is the gentlest kind of shelter. No new thought is needed, only warmth and dim glow, and the sanctuary holding everything in place. The keeper's loop becomes slower by small degrees, as though the night itself is turning down a dial. Each return feels softer than the last, until even the idea of motion begins to feel like rest. If the keeper notices anything at all, it is only the gentlest changes, cloth shifting against cloth, a bowl coming to rest in stone, the aurora's color sliding overhead. Even these changes feel rounded, as if the reserve is gently softening everything before it can become noticeable. The keeper's hands stay relaxed, the shoulders stay low, and the whole sanctuary feels like it is settling deeper into sleep. The keeper's presence stays light, never hovering too long, never making the quiet feel watched. A creature settles, and the keeper steps away. A glow dims, and the keeper does not react. The sanctuary is allowed to be quiet without commentary. And in that lack of commentary, the bays become even calmer, as if silence is something that can be layered, one soft layer at a time, until it feels thick and warm like fabric. The keeper's loop becomes a gentle familiarity. The whole reserve can rest inside. Step and quiet. Step and warmth. Step and the gentle wash of aurora color sliding across stone. If a bay already feels settled, the keeper simply passes by, letting settled remain settled. And if a bay feels like it would welcome one more moment of softness, the keeper offers it. One touch, one brush stroke, one pause, and then moves on. Near the end of the ridge, an observation nook opens onto a wide view of the Ringworld's inner sky. A low bench sits inside the nook, and a folded blanket rests there, thick and soft, catching the faint aurora color like a quiet stain of teal violet. The keeper steps into the nook and rests a palm on the warm stone rail, feeling the steady heat and the gentle vibration that seems to rise from the ridge. Beyond the rail, clouds drift far below in slow layers, and the curve of the ring can be felt in the horizon's arc, protective and calm. Above, aurora lanes pass like watercolor ribbons, never brightening sharply, never demanding attention, simply moving as they always move. The keeper stands here for a long moment without searching for meaning, letting the scene be simple, drifting light, steady warmth, quiet air. Behind, the bays remain settled, held by warm stone and soft fabric. Ahead, the sky remains gentle, with stars like scattered lanterns. The nook is sheltered, and the air feels especially smooth here, as if the sanctuary itself is cradling the moment. A warm glow, a soft blanket, and drifting light overhead. The keeper could sit or could stand. Either way, the moment stays gentle. And when the keeper turns back toward the ridge, the sanctuary is still there, unchanged. Quiet bays, warm stone, soft fabric, waiting in the same calm. For a while, the keeper simply stands and lets the view pass through without being held. The ring's curve, the slow clouds, the drifting color, each one is steady enough to let the mind stop trying to track it. And when the keeper finally turns away, the scene continues exactly the same, as if it never needed to be watched to keep moving. The stars do not glitter sharply. They sit steady, like small lamps left on low. The aurora's color shifts by degrees so small it hardly feels like change, more like a slow breathing of light. Below, the clouds keep drifting in broad, quiet sheets, and the curve of the ring makes the sky feel close protective, contained. For a few long moments, the keeper lets the hands rest on the warm rail and lets the shoulders soften, as if the body is listening to the hum from far away and finding it reassuring. The keeper can see, far along the curve, faint hints of other lands on the ring, not as destinations, only as a soft suggestion that the world continues quietly beyond this sanctuary, and that continuation feels comforting because it means nothing needs to be finished right now. The view is patient. The aurora is patient. The clouds are patient. They drift and drift and drift. And each drift feels the same as the last. Thoughts may rise and drift like clouds, noticed or not. And the night keeps moving gently on. The keeper remains here just long enough for the body to recognize that steadiness, and for the breath to become slow without trying. In this nook, even the idea of distance feels soft. The curve of the Ringworld does not need to be measured. It is simply there, like a cradle holding the night. Muted aurora continues in slow ribbons, and the stars keep their quiet places, and the air keeps its calm. If you find yourself picturing it, you can let the picture blur at the edges, the way sleepy eyes blur lamplight. The reserve below is steady, and the hum below is steady, and the warmth below is steady. Nothing new needs to happen in order for rest to deepen. When the round grows quieter, the keeper returns along the ridge at the same calm pace, the loop softening into its next gentle turn. The bays remain steady and quiet, the creatures settled into warmth, the glows dim, the air soft. The keeper carries the tray back toward the pavilion without any change in tempo, letting each step land gently on warm stone, letting the hum underfoot remain constant. At the pavilion, the brush pouch goes back into its alcove. The bowls return to the table, and the folded cloth pads rest where they always rest, flat and inviting. A hand rests on the warm stone console for a final moment, feeling the steady vibration, slow, even, dependable, like a quiet current beneath the floor. Then the hand lifts, and the warmth remains anyway. The lamp stays low. The aurora keeps drifting. The sanctuary keeps holding its gentle design. Outside, the resting bays hold quiet creatures and dimmed biolight. And inside, the pavilion holds warmth, and the steady hum continues like a soft foundation under everything. Everything continues softly, repeating the same comforts until they feel effortless. And the reserve holds the end of the round the way it held the beginning, calm and unbroken. The keeper's steps grow fewer, and the sanctuary keeps on in the same gentle way. It carries on through the night, holding warmth and quiet without interruption. And the Ringworld turns on, and the aurora drifts on, and the creature reserve remains a small, gentle shelter under a calm sky. Even after the keeper steps away, the reserve keeps the same gentle rhythm. Bays holding warmth, paths holding quiet, aurora holding soft color overhead. The night does not end abruptly here. It simply continues, calm and slow until morning arrives in its own time.